The Rio Grande Valley of South Texas, where the sky stretches endlessly above cotton fields and small towns, where the border between reality and nightmare can blur in the heat summer day. But in the winter of 1975, something impossible began circling overhead. Something that shouldn't exist, but left claw marks on a man's shoulder to prove that it did. It started quietly, as these things often do. Late December 1975, near Harlingen, Texas, two police deputies were on their way on an early morning patrol when they saw it. A massive bird with a wingspan they estimated at 10 feet gliding silently over their patrol cars. The official explanation came quickly. It was a large pelican. Case closed. But anyone who knows the Rio Grande Valley knows that pelicans don't hunt at night, and they don't fly with the silent, predatory grace that those officers described. Then came New Year's Day, 1976. Two teenage girls near Harlingen were out walking when they spotted something in a nearby field. Not flying this time, standing, watching them. They described the creature 5 feet tall with a gorilla-like face and bald head and a short beak. But it was the eyes they couldn't forget, large, intelligent, and burning red in the morning light. January 14th, 1976, Raymondville, Texas. 26-year-old Armando Grimaldo was sitting on his mother-in-law's porch having a cigarette after dinner. His estranged wife was sleeping inside. It was a quiet evening in a quiet town. Then he heard it, the sound of wings. But not like any bird he'd ever heard, like leather flapping in the wind and a strange whistling sound that made the neighbor's dog start barking. Armando looked around but saw nothing. He never thought to look up. That was his mistake. Without warning, massive talons grabbed his shoulders from above. Claws tore through his shirt and into his flesh as something tried to lift him off the ground. He crashed forward, rolling under a nearby tree as whatever had attacked him had let him go and flew away into the darkness. His neighbors found him minutes later, shirt torn to shreds, claw marks bleeding on his shoulders, and complete shock. This wasn't a bird attack. This was something else entirely. What happened to Armando Grimaldo wasn't an isolated incident. It was the beginning of a wave of encounters that would grip South Texas for months. January 7th, 1976, just 1 week before Armando's attack, Alvarico Guajardo was at his trailer home in Brownsville when something massive slammed into the side of his mobile home. When he went outside to investigate, he came face to face with what he could only describe as a bird, but not a bird, like something from another planet. The creature was massive, easily 5 feet tall with wings that seemed to span 12 feet or more. But it was the face that haunted him. Not a bird's face, but something almost human, something intelligent and malevolent. Remember those two girls who saw the creature on New Year's Day? The next morning, investigators found something in that field that official reports tried to downplay. 3-toed tracks. Massive. They were deep impressions in the earth where the creature had stood. But here's what's strange. The tracks weren't just big, they were impossibly deep, as if whatever made them weighed far more than any bird ever could. The tracks were photographed, measured, and then quietly forgotten by authorities. The encounters weren't confined to the Harlingen-Raymondville area. Reports began flooding from across South Texas, Laredo, 150 miles northwest, Olmito, just outside of Brownsville, and finally Eagle Pass, near the Mexican border. All described the same creature. Massive wingspan, gorilla-like face, burning red eyes. But what's chilling is the pattern. The sightings formed a rough circle around the Rio Grande Valley, as if something was systematically patrolling the border. Local residents began reporting strange sounds at night. The leather wing flapping Armando described, the whistling that made dogs howl, but strangest of all were the shadows. People across the valley reported seeing massive wing shapes pass between them and the moon. Shadows too large to be any known bird, moving with purpose through the night sky. Some witnesses claim the creature seemed to be hunting, searching for something or just someone. Here's what makes the Texas bird so unsettling. It violates everything we know about flight and bird anatomy. A bird with a 12-foot wingspan and the ability to lift a grown man would need a body mass that would make flight impossible. The largest known flying bird, the Andean condor, has a 10-foot wingspan and weighs about 30 pounds. It can barely lift a small rabbit. Whatever attacked Armando was strong enough to grab a 150-pound man and attempt to carry him away. That's not just unusual, it's physically impossible. But here's the story. This is where it gets even stranger. The Texas big bird isn't new. Mexican folklore along the Rio Grande has spoken for centuries of La Lechuza, a giant owl-like creature that can stand 7 feet tall with a 15-foot wingspan. According to legend, La Lechuza is the spirit of a bruja, a witch, who takes the form of a massive bird to hunt for victims. The description matches perfectly: gorilla-like face, burning red eyes, massive size. But what if the 1976 sightings weren't just random encounters? What if something ancient had awakened along the border? As reports multiplied, something strange began happening. Official investigations suddenly went quiet. Witnesses, their accounts were dismissed. Evidence just disappeared. The 3-toed tracks photographed near Harlingen, the photos vanished from police files. Armando Grimaldo's hospital records documenting his injuries sealed and then lost. But most telling of all was what happened to Alex Resendez, a local man who claimed to have seen the creature 3 separate times during the 1970s. After his third encounter, where he photographed what he claimed was the big bird, federal agents visited his home. The photos were confiscated. Resendez was told to keep quiet. He was never seen making public statements about his encounters again. By February 1976, the sightings stopped as suddenly as they had begun. No more attacks, no more encounters, no more 3-toed tracks in the muddy fields. Armando Grimaldo moved away from the valley shortly after his encounter and refused to speak publicly about what had happened. The official reports were filed away and forgotten. But the people of the Rio Grande Valley remember. They still look up when they hear strange sounds at night. They still tell their children to be inside before dark. Because in South Texas, everyone knows that some things never really leave. They just learn to hunt more quietly. The giant bird of the Rio Grande Valley disappeared from the headlines, but disappearing from the news doesn't mean disappearing from the sky. And every winter, when the air is cold and clear and the moon casts long shadows across empty fields, people still report seeing something massive circling overhead. Something that shouldn't exist. Something that left scars on a man's shoulders to prove that it does. Thanks for spending some time with me today. If stories like this make you check the sky a little more often, you're in the right place. Subscribe for more stories that blur the line between folklore and fact. And next time you're in South Texas on a winter night and you hear the sound of leather wings in the darkness, maybe it's better not to look up, because some things are better left unseen and some encounters change you forever. I'm Jorge, and this is Jorge's House of Horrors.